week on Storyboard, how marketers are coping with changing media and marketing dynamics, PepsiCo's Vipul Prakash, Microsoft's Aparna Lal and Kellogg's India's Harpreet Singh Tibb have a few answers for us. Why are Fevicol ads so entertaining? We find out with Piyush Pandey and Pidilite's Bharat Puri. Apollo Munich Health Insurance is telling consumers don't think twice. And Adriel Matic is urging men to share the load.
Hello and welcome to Storyboard. This is Shivani Gharat. Media and marketing landscape is changing dramatically and there are various factors contributing to this change. How does a marketer deal with these changes? Well, we have three marketers answering this question for us today as Storyboard editor Anant Rangaswami speaks to Vipul Prakash, Chief Marketing Officer PepsiCo India, Aparna Lal, Director Digital and Social Media Marketing Microsoft India and Harpreet Singh Tibb, Director India and South Asia Kellogg's. Let's hear the conversation.
So Vipul, starting with you, the media landscape is changing so dramatically. I mean, what we could speak about 3 years ago has completely changed. It doesn't even exist. So what are the new challenges you face in your day-to-day job now as a marketer?
The biggest thing is what we face is the expectation that the consumers have from the brand. If you just take us back 15, 20 years, if you look at the decade of the 90s, it was really a consumer saying, show me. Show me more stuff, show me global stuff, show me celebrities, show me what the brand means, And that was the time when a lot of multinational brands came into India and they were able to live up to that promise. Fast forward to the early 2000s, it was about, a two-way thing, listen to me. And brands struggled in really getting feedback from consumers and, adopting their strategies. Today we are finding ourselves in this strange place where the consumer is saying, I am also the brand manager. Right. Involve me. It is as much my brand as yours. And it seems very exciting for a marketer, but can be very challenging. Because in a way, you have to be really confident in opening up your brand to the consumer. And that you can do sometimes reasonably, but many times the right balance between retaining the brand narrative, but still involving the consumer in your decisions. I think that's the biggest challenge which we are facing.
Aparna, in your case, Microsoft has always relied very heavily on measurement and, measurement metrics and data and conference calls like the one you had today, in lots of it. So tell me, what are the changes you're seeing in the last 4 or 5 years?
Fun, of course, because there's just so much data and the fact that marketing can be measured today. There's a whole lot of numbers that are floating around and actually nobody is able to make sense of what those numbers mean, right? There was a panel discussion yesterday where we said, let's not look at all the numbers, let's look at the numbers that really matter, right? So out of all those numbers that a marketing campaign today can throw out, especially if it's a digital campaign, can I pick up one metric that matters and actually position that and show success of the campaign versus throwing 20 parameters to a stakeholder saying this is what we did. I think that's a biggest challenge today and actually we are at fault, right? Because suddenly we could see, marketing is measurable. So here are 20 data points which I measured and probably shared versus sharing one which really impacted the business or the key objective. I think that's very, very important.
Yeah. Harpreet, what are the challenges you're seeing? And I wanted to ask you, are we going from under-measured to over-measured? Is that a concern you have or is that an area you spend time on?
Okay, so I think in my view, the world's actually changing quite dramatically and I guess digital is actually leading the whole change agenda. And what it's really doing for marketers like us and marketing organizations like ours is that, power is actually getting democratized. So in the past, marketing could actually just create one ad or one-way messaging and you actually expected consumers to listen to you and then act on it. I think what we're seeing right now is becoming a two-way street. It's also being fueled by the fact that society is becoming very experiential. And people are actually trying to get, experience a brand at different touch points, in different ways. And therefore a brand very, very clearly, from a 30-second canvas, is actually moving to creating different kind of experiences. For us, last year we've actually done a campaign where we actually created 100 video recipes to tell people 100 ways that you can actually have Kellogg's. It's something which is unthinkable perhaps if there was no digital for me. So I guess for us it's about saying, how do you take advantage and leverage what digital presents to us as a marketer? And that's the journey we are on right now. Respect to your second question on over-measurement, under-measurement, I think in the past measurement existed, right? And the measurement parameters are very clear. Is your brand equity getting strengthened? Are you getting a bang for the buck? It continues to remain the same in my view.
Vipul, as we see more digitization and more sort of granularity of media, one of the challenges is getting into more and more languages, and perhaps even sub-languages, if you may. You're used to an era where you did only Hindi, then became maybe Hindi and some South Indian languages. Now, it's going nuts. I mean, the kind of content you'll have to produce.
No, and absolutely right. And, and that's something which, again, as I said, if we don't do that, then the consumer will do it for us. Right. And I think that's an opportunity for brands, because there's a limited extent to which you can go with various dialects and various languages and all. But I think if the brand is able to give a good framework, then you'll see that, a lot of consumers, a lot of film producers, etc., actually do that dialect work for you. So I think that's a great opportunity. And I don't think the brands have even scratched the surface there. We still believe, in the whole thing of the we'll produce something and put it out there. If you look at any of these video hosting sites and all, content which has actually been produced by brands would be a minuscule percentage of the content out there, even about the brands. So therefore, I think that is the biggest opportunity we have right now.
Aparna, in Microsoft's case, languages have not been such a big thing. But again, is the customer going to force you to talk to him or her in the language of his or her choice? I
think it will, right? If you look at the current internet base, it's the 200 million is coming from the metros and the top 20 cities, right? But the next growth will come from the smaller towns, right? The much smaller towns. And that's where a lot of vernacular is important, right? So we will be forced to create content that resonates with that reader who would be sitting, I do not know, some city down south wanting to consume content in his or her own language. And that said, I want to take a step back and also say today's content creation is such a big challenge, because what people have suddenly started saying, oh, digital is this new piece, but actually storytelling and content is still the key for any marketing campaign, right? So we really need to continue to tell great stories, use digital effectively as a medium, and definitely prep ourselves for that, the next 300 million who will come on the internet bandwagon very, very soon. Yeah.
Harpreet, one huge change for the marketer is the number of communication partners have to work with on a day-to-day basis. You go back 20 years, it was 3 perhaps. Now it's 23 sometimes, So tell me, who is the custodian of a piece of communication? Who orchestrates it? Who takes the rap? Who takes the credit? How does that work?
No, I think that's an extremely valid observation, right? So I think the way the marketing is moving into marketing digital world, you're actually having many partners who now you need to work with. However, I think if the principles of marketing are not changing, right, there was always a brand equity, a brand ID, a brand DNA, and as long as you're clear that that remains consistent and the marketing is taking responsibility for it, I think it's very easy to make sure there's a consistency of the messaging that really goes out. Right. So the way we also do it today is like, we talk about integrated experience plan, wherein you actually have one brief, one campaign idea, and then you actually find ways of manifesting the campaign idea in different touch points. The way you manifest it on television could be very different from, let's say, content. From, let's say, something they're doing on ground. But they're all governed and all linked with that one campaign idea, which goes back to what the brand ethos is all about.
Right, but who manages this team that works? How does that get managed?
So as I said, the marketing team today leads that thing. And you have a very nice process at Kellogg. We follow something called the IEP, Integrated Experience Plan. And under that framework, it's really easy to then make sure you're channelizing everything together to that one larger purpose.
So I'm going to ask each of you the same question. As we close this, Vipul, tell me, what is the one thing that keeps you awake at night as far as your job is concerned?
How do I get a team which is reflective of the consumer out there today? There is a difference which we need to bridge.
Aparna, same question.
I think this whole battle about unified view of a customer, right? Because we speak to the customer as Microsoft, various brands touch him with various messages, online, offline. So getting that one single view of the customer and how are then we engaging with the customer. I think that's what.
And finally, you, Harpreet?
I think for me it's very clear, very simple. How do I make sure that my portfolio brands are actually entering the shopper basket, irrespective of its online, offline shopping? And that's what keeps me awake at night.
Fantastic. Thank you, Harpreet. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
It is tough life for marketers as they grapple with a dynamic environment. It is time for us to slip into a short break. When we return, we get to see what makes Fevicol tick.